What's up, everybody? It's your boy Andrew L. Case, and you are now tuned into the Middle Initial Podcast. Today is September 19th, 2021, and I'm 2022. Wow, where am I?
Yeah, I know it's been a long couple of years, bro, but it's
And,
2022 now.
right. And I'm here with my co-host Kevin A. Lewis. Jude is on a brief hiatus. Kev, what's going on?
Not much, man. Well, what's up? How was your weekend?
Weekend was excellent. I'm beating you in fantasy, like I smartly predicted. So a little comeuppance for my loss last week to Jude, and of course the Jets won in tremendous fashion yesterday. So I think everything is coming up Millhouse. So what they would say. What's going on with you?
I was better before you brought up the fact that I'm getting walloped by you right now. But I wasn't gonna go undefeated, so it is what it is. At least I didn't lose to Drew. That would have been um, not great.
Not
So
yet. Not yet. It's possible. The possibilities out there.
I hope I don't. I'll just leave it at that. Like, just goal number two, besides winning the championship, is stomping the life out of Drew. Like, that's goal number two. Win the championship. Goal number one. Goal number two, stomp the life out of Drew. I don't want to hear nothing.
Well, unfortunately, I did take an L week one. I preserved myself by winning in week. Well, right. I'm not saying the game is over yet, but based on projections, I am projected to
Bro,
win.
Jalen Hurts would have to put up. I don't know if you remember that Michael Vick Monday night game against Washington in like 2010,
When he
where
threw the touchdown, like
the
opening drive.
first play was like an 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
Hurts would have to do exactly that for me to even have a shot, and even that might not land me a victory. So you're good. You're safe. You are safe, bro.
But definitely enjoying that aspect. But the bigger moment is the Jets actually winning in the month of September. The Jets finally won a football game in the month of September since 2018. And Kev, you and I were there in the bar for that win in September back in 2018. And I believe
God, was that the last one?
That was against the Lions.
Oh,
that was
Lord.
Sam Darnold's first game.
Oh.
You and I were there. Jude was there. We was a lot of high fives, a lot of beers, and a lot of we left with some hope. We left like hopeful, smiling. We thought we had our quarterback. Of course, we did it, but here we are in 2022. We haven't won a game in September since that moment, and we won a big one yesterday by the final score of 31-30. As the fans see on the ticker, Joe Flacco 4 touchdowns, Garrett Wilson 8 catches, 102 yards, 2 touchdowns in a victory. Kev, what are your thoughts about yesterday's win?
It was interesting. I guess it's one of those, like, all right, I can't take too much out of the actual win because we can say whatever we want, and I don't want to be the Debbie Downer. Understand, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I'm not trying to shit on nobody's joy. Okay, that game was not about the Jets winning it. We could say that, and we could admit it. It felt good. I'm not arguing with that. It felt great, like especially with Garrett Wilson just completely, thoroughly dominating. It felt great. I'm not here to shit on that part of it. If you felt good about the Jets at 3:45 Eastern time, you should still feel good about the Jets at 4 o'clock. After the Browns shit on themselves. If you felt bad about the Jets at 3:45 Eastern time, I don't think much has changed. Personally, I don't think a lot changed based on the result of that football game. Now, the only thing that I really gained out of that is that Garrett Wilson is going to be an issue, number one. And number two, Zach Wilson ain't got no excuses when he comes back. He ain't got no excuses. Like, the line is not a disaster. I'm not saying it's great. It might be average. It might be closer to the average side of things. Fine. The line is not going to sit there and let him get beat up every play, whatever. And he can move a little bit, so he can protect himself a little bit in that regard, right? The line is fine. The position players are good. The play caller has a brain. He has a clue. He seems to know what he's doing. Although, like, I have some little mini gripes with him, but he seems to have a clue. He seems to know what he's doing. There's no excuses. Like, the only thing that I took out of this game is like, all right, the offense, like, we got the surrounding pieces. We just need the guy under center. The defense stunk. I don't think it's going to be that bad all the time Because yeah, Nick Chubb and them ran all over the Jets. Nick Chubb and them are going to run over a lot of people. That stuff happens. Like you don't want to see the missed tackles all the fucking time. That's not great. But it's easy for me to sit there from my desk chair and tell him to go tackle Kareem Hunt in the fourth quarter after you've been on the field for 30 minutes. It's easy for me to say that shit. So I didn't really take much from it. It felt good though, and it felt good to be on the happy end of a collapse. Like you know what I'm saying, on the receiving end of the collapse instead of the giving end. Like oh wow, we gave y'all a game, yay! You know what I mean? It felt good for a second. We're 500 in September. When was the last time that happened? 2018. Like it feels good. Do I take a whole lot from it? No. The only thing that it says to me is like, all right, I thought Garrett Wilson was good. Like I liked the draft pick when it was made. I thought he was a good prospect. I think he's better than I thought he was. And if you're gonna have Garrett Wilson, you're gonna have Elijah Moore, you're gonna have Brees Hall, you're gonna have Michael Carter, you're gonna have a decent enough offensive line, and you're gonna have an offensive coordinator with a clue. The quarterback ain't got no excuse. If he ain't good, he's likely never going to be good. Listen to me good when I say that shit. If Zach Wilson comes back and he's not at bare minimum above average this year, he's likely never going to be good because it's hard to be set up with a better opportunity with the shit around you. I mean, shit, look at Tua. Like, not to delve too far into that shit, but like, people are praising Tua, and hey, he threw 6 touchdowns. I'm not here to hate on the man, obviously. But bro, it's really hard to fuck up when you got two of the most explosive players in the sport who also happen to be actually good playing wide receiver for you, and you got a good line, and you got a good coach. Like, it's hard to fuck that up. Zach is in a similar spot. Obviously, not as high end as Jalen and Tyreek, but our guys are good. He got to do something. He got to prove it.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. I wasn't going to touch on that aspect of it until a little bit later, but I'm glad you got it out in front of it just now because what we saw from the Jets yesterday, at least in the first half. I don't like the second half was bad. Like, I mean, I know a lot of people are really excited the Jets won, but if we're going to be for real, the second half was bad, right? It wasn't as good as the first half. But we got out there and we kind of matched toe for toe, right? Like the Browns scored and we didn't wilt, you know what I mean? We went for it on 4th and 1. It was a fake punt. Now I know, Kev, you're not a fan of fake punts because it's like, hey, if you're going to go for it, go for it. There's no need to do
I'm a fan
punt.
of fake punts when it's like 4th and 6. Like that shit makes sense. You want to surprise them on 4th and 6, be my guess. On 4th and 1, you quite literally got to fall forward. Just
right.
I'm not going to be mad when you make it. Like, please, right. I'm not that guy. But like, if you don't make it, I'm going to be doubly mad. That's the problem. If you don't make it, I'm going to be doubly upset. Like, just fucking fall forward. It's a yard. But go ahead.
Right. No, but because I blinked when that happened because I was like 4th and 1, we should go for it. And I saw 4th and 1, and I hear Kev's voice echoing in the back of my mind, like the Jets just go for it, right? And then I'm like, oh, these guys are gonna punt the ball. And I blinked, and I'm like, Brady Man. I'm like, what? What's going on? Like the Jets go for a fake, and they tie the game.
Bro, I had a tweet written out that I had to backspace. Delete. I had a tweet written out. Like, thankfully, I didn't hit tweet on it, but I had a tweet written out like, wow, Robert Saleh talking all that shit about I'm taking receipts and he's gonna punt on 4th and 1. Like, this is your man, and then all of a sudden, Brady Man, like,
right?
Okay, fine, you got it, Robbie.
It is, and that momentum was good. Going into the half, kicking the field goal. You know what I mean? Not kicking the field goal, going to the halftime. Like, yo, we're gonna go for this touchdown. We're gonna tie this game. Those were the positives I saw from that first half. It got ugly in the second half, I believe, like towards the end of the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, when things kind of got out of hand. And my perspective at that point was, and this is before, and again, I didn't hit send, thank God. I think I did, though. I think I said last week was offense and this week was defense. But I didn't say game over. I just said, this is what we saw. And I was hoping that meant in week 3, the offense and defense could put it together. Little did I know that the Jets were somehow going to come back and win. And it was all based on the folly of the Browns. Like if we're being for real about how the Jets won, Kareem Hunt went out of bounds twice with 2 minutes and 2 seconds and just having no timeouts and only a 2-minute warning there. They run the ball and Chubb gets the first down and go for the touchdown. So some people felt like, hey, you go for the touchdown every time. But other people are looking at like, yo, the game is over. there's no need to give a team a shot, right? Of all teams, the Jets, you feel like they don't have a shot, but there's no need to give them a shot to at least score a garbage time touchdown, which at first it felt like they did, especially as quickly as they scored the 66-yard touchdown to Corey Davis, which apparently, based off of Connor Hughes' reporting, was kind of a setup play. I don't know if you saw that. He was showing some
I'm
play
not.
designs.
Once he said it wasn't a blown coverage, I didn't read the rest because it was. Like, what are we talking? Like, I'm not saying that they didn't set him up, blah blah. Bro, you're up by 2 touchdowns with a minute 40 left, and somebody is running by himself down the sideline. No safety, no corner, butt naked, jock strap on the 40. He running by himself, and you're gonna sit here, you're gonna look me in my face, and you're gonna tell me it wasn't a blown. Yes, it was. You can say the play design was good. That's fine. I'm not gonna knock it. That's for other people to talk about, not me. But you can't say it was a blown coverage when he's running by himself. Like the play, when they drew up the defensive game plan for that play, it wasn't, hey, we're gonna leave Corey Davis wide open, was it?
No,
No, then it was a fucking blown coverage.
no.
It was a blown coverage. I read it, I was like, bro, I'm like, I was gonna open it. I was like, hey, sometimes you gotta read something that you might disagree with. And I'm like, yo, the premise is so fucking stupid that I'm not gonna read this shit. I'm gonna scroll past. I don't want to ride. My blood pressure is already high. I don't need a higher reading foolishness. But go
I
ahead.
I looked at it and I was I'm on the same page as you. I was trying to see how this makes sense, but I guess the play design was the one play that Elijah Moore got the ball wide open, and then the other play he was open again, but they gave Conklin the ball, and then this play they gave it to Corey Davis because Ward is cheating in the backfield. Like, yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. Like to say this is a setup with this amount of time left. Was it the same play formation? Yes, the same what do they call it? The same routes were run, except that on this route they said it was a seven what he said a seven pump or something like that, where I guess it's like a pump and dump, whatever. Somebody clarified that for me today. So whatever. Blown coverage. Onside kick. Braden Mann again onside, like a hero from the first down from the 4th and 1, and now the onside kick. Beautifully done. It went the required 10 yards. And people were wondering why Greg Zuerlein wasn't in the game, and I guess that's exactly why, because Brandon Mann probably has a knack for kicking the ball, and we recover. And then we drive down the field, and we win the game. You know what I mean? And we didn't win. I mean, we had the winning play, and it was still enough time, and the Browns still had enough timeouts to get in the field goal range. And then Ashton Davis gets an interception. So I would say yesterday was a combination of you know what I mean, from coaching, like, get Garrett Wilson the ball. It's a lot of and also unsung heroes. Flacco, after an abysmal week last week, having 4 touchdowns. Braden Mann, who was injured last week, and having, 2 good plays. And Ashton Davis, who, for all intents and purposes, has been arguably the best, not the best, but the worst player, best scenario type of situation for him to get that interception at that time. Like, people are going to say, well, Ashton Davis has shown glimpses. No, he hasn't. Ashton Davis has been okay. Like a couple of garbage time interceptions, and having the ability to pick off Tua. Like, I hope he starts against the Dolphins, right? I hope he gets his stuff against another pick against the Dolphins. But again, it's like
you're begging for him to get baked. But go ahead, begging.
But it's like it was definitely an unsung hero type game yesterday. But it was a lot of the Browns' folly, right? The Browns' folly led to their ultimate demise. Like, I know the Jets fans are pumped and people are, picking through plays and trying to say this was designed and this was going to happen. But all the result could have been was Nick Chubb falls. I got 5 yards on this run. I fall on the ground. The game is over. It's whatever is on the clock after the 2-minute warning, the minute 55, 56. We kneel 3 times, kick a field goal, game's over, right? That's it. There's nothing to talk about. There's no headline. Instead, the Browns gave it up in the most Brown-like fashion. And to your point, like you said earlier, at least this time we weren't on the receiving end of this type of comeback. So I took it as a positive sign. How about you, Kev? The Jets winning, is this a positive sign for the season, in your opinion?
All right, first of all, before I answer that, to go back to Chubb real quick, it is really stupid that people are trying to make that a focal point of their collapse. Like, all right, bro, I read a stat earlier. I don't remember the exact number, but it's four digits. Yo, the last like 2,200 games or some shit like that that featured somebody leading by 13 points with a minute and 55 left featured that team who was leading winning the game. Bro, that man thought he put the game away, bro. Like, all right, could he have gotten down and the game was over? Okay, sure. To me, that shit is a footnote. Like, you want to mention it, fine. It's part of the game story. You have to. Okay, cool. Bashing him when quite literally, this is what happened afterwards. A, they blew a coverage, 65-yard touch or 55, whatever, however many yard touchdown, right? They lost the onside kick. They let Joe Flacco walk the team down 55 yard. Didn't bother to cover Garrett Wilson basically the entire drive, and gave up two. Oh, missed an extra point along the way. I forgot that. Missed an extra
Oh
point.
yeah, that makes such a point too.
Missed an extra point. Nick Chubb doesn't need to be mentioned in a critical light. You want to mention, okay, if he gets down, they win the game. Sure, like that's part of the game. Fine, but yo, they had a 13-point lead with a minute 55 left. They should have still won the game. Going, wait, the last 2,000 people, the last 2,000 teams who did it managed to fucking knock shit away a 13-point lead in 2 minutes. But
Right.
to answer to now answer your question about a positive hook on the season, Garrett Wilson looks like him. So on that alone, I'm gonna say the season. I have a more positive outlook on the season as opposed to before yesterday happened. Like the rest of it, again, as I said, I didn't learn much. Joe Flacco's still playing. I can't wait till he's not playing because he's bad. B, he's missing. He's still missing a lot. Like we can say whatever we want about the fourth quarter, how good he was. That's cool. I'm not here to take nothing away from the guy, but we know what he is. He's 37 and he's bad. Now, the the biggest compliment I could give him is some ground level shit. He saw that they could not cover Garrett Wilson, so he kept giving him the ball, or he kept trying to give him the ball. Like it's funny because Garrett Wilson could have legitimately had four touchdowns this year if Joe Flacco just threw the ball a little bit better. He could have had four touchdowns. That's how good Garrett Wilson was yesterday. And like credit to Joe Flacco for hey, if it ain't broke, why fix it? Okay, cool. I give him his credit for that. But yeah, it's a bit of more positive outlook because the thing with Zach Wilson and the season revolves around him, whether we like it or not, right? The
Mm-hmm.
thing with him, we are going to have clarity one way or the other. Because again, you have Elijah Moore, you have Garrett Wilson, them dudes stay open.
Mm-hmm.
You got what
Yeah.
you got. I'm not going to repeat myself. You got
Yeah.
what you got on the offensive, in the backfield. You got what you got in the play caller. You are going to have clarity. Either this guy is it or he's not. There's not really a lot in between. Either he's it or he's not. If he is an above average to good quarterback this year, okay, fine, go forward with him. If he still stinks with this, he got to go. So yeah, I'm a bit more positive, not from necessarily a wins loss perspective, but the number 10 pick that they just spent, he looks like a guy. He looks like one of them. He looks like one of them ones. He looks like that, and the offense looks like it could be fun again if Zach is worth a damn. So
Mm.
yeah, my outlook is a little bit more positive than it was on Saturday. Yes.
I will say this. This I said it in Spaces last night, and I'm gonna say it on this episode. So shout out to all our Spaces listeners. Um, what I got from yesterday was we finally got ROI. We finally got return on investment, and that's what it means to have a big time rookie, right? Like when we're talking about Zach Wilson, people like we're still in this whole what if phase, right? And we saw maybe a couple of glimpses last year of at least the deep ball. Not a complete game where he's like 300 yards, three touchdowns, whatever. We've seen some glimpses, right? With Garrett Wilson, we immediately have seen ROI, return on investment. We traded picks. This guy's 10th overall. He showed a flash last week, and he immediately plays dividends the second week. That is what you want to see from rookies. So the part where I don't understand why people feel like Zach is going to come in right away and do stuff is because he haven't done it yet. You know what I mean? So in order for us to feel positive about Zach, he literally has to come in and do what Garrett did, which is week to week improve. We went from first week, we're kind of mad at MLF for saying what he's saying in the press conference. We feel like he's shading Mims to he is him. We know he's him. Let him ball. 8 catches, 102 yards, 2 touchdowns, and like to your point, like you said, could have been 4 touchdowns the amount of times he was open.
Right.
So we have that. We have a touchdown from Brees Hall, who in a catching situation, um, he's a great downhill runner. Like this guy hits the hole like nobody's business, and once he gets downhill, he's going to break one eventually. He's going to break one. So we get that immediate again ROI touchdown. You know what I mean? Points is a return on investment, not a couple of deep balls here and there. Points, wins, a return on investment. Michael Carter, another guy. Michael Carter is great at what he's doing, catching the ball at the backfield, running the ball. Again, positive. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet, but still, the guy doesn't give up on any plays. We're right back to ROI, return on investment. So, Zach, all he has to do, and this was said to me last night, is complete the layups. The Jets have 4 receivers in the top 50 for separation yards. You know who the number one is? Braxton Berrios. Braxton Berrios is the number one. He's probably had like 18 total snaps, but his separation is 4.2. Then you have Garrett Wilson, I believe, is 3.8. Elijah Moore's up there, I think, like 3.2. We have 4 guys in the top 50. Talking about separation yards. These guys are going to be open. Zach, lay it up. That's what you didn't do last year. Lay the ball up. Now, and this is all analogy and analogies from last night's Spaces, guys. So it's not my thoughts. I'm reiterating the thoughts from Spaces. So again, if you tune in Sunday nights and Friday nights at 7 p.m. on Twitter, make sure you follow us at MIPod69 and you get all these great talking points. And somebody had a great talking point last night. I believe it was Rod, and I believe it was Manny. I believe, but I think definitely Manny and Rod. Lay the ball up. Lay the ball up, hit the open guy, and then a play like the broken play that Flacco threw the ball up in the air to Corey Davis and it kind of like wilted at the end. That's the play that Zach can make. Because we see him make plays on the run, throw off the back foot, throw it off balance. He has the arm. Make the layups, then hit the 3-point shot. Make the layups, hit the 3-point shot, then the ROI is there, and then the Jets look good. I believe we have to address the safety situation. Fake Adams can't play.
Before we do that, I'd like to make a point regarding the safety situation, since you bring this up like every 3 business days because they haven't replaced Jamal Adams, who the Jets didn't win shit with anyway. But Jamal Adams was traded for, what was it, 3 draft picks? 2 first and a third.
2 first and yeah.
Okay, so he was traded for Elijah Vera-Tucker. Elijah Vera-Tucker ended up being one of the picks.
Right.
Garrett Wilson was another pick.
Correct.
Garrett Wilson's performance Sunday is more impressive than anything Jamal has done in his career. Carry on. Do what you got to do.
Well, yeah. I mean, so what I was saying in the Spaces was we have to admit it's not as easy as what people originally thought it would be to replace a safety, a box safety, right? And that's my point. It's not just saying, oh, I like Adams. I feel like Adams is a good player. I also felt like he wasn't replaceable. I said the same thing about Marcus May. It's not going to be easy to replace these guys, whether you like the picks or not. They were picked where they were picked for a reason, because of their talent. So we have Whitehead, who is a good, strong safety, right? Not a free safety, like a strong safety. Now we need a free safety. So if Whitehead is the guy who's replacing Adams, which is fine, we still have a problem at free safety. Is it easier to replace the safety position? No. Ask the Dolphins, who traded Minka to the Steelers, and they haven't effectively replaced Minka at all. Ask the Ravens, who are still trying to replace Ed Reed. You know what I mean? Like, it's not easy to replace a safety. There's a generational talent. And even though safety is not the most important position on the field, we're seeing after 3 seasons or a couple of seasons, hey, that's the position of weakness. It's not Adams' position, it's May's position. Definitely need help at linebacker. Definitely need help at interior defensive lineman. Definitely need some help on the offensive line still, even though we have some positive signs from Max Mitchell. I believe Font will settle into his role. I don't know what's going to happen with Dwayne Brown when he comes back, if he comes back at all this season. But as far as the positives, Wilson, Hall, the guys from last year, Carter. Those are the positives. Sauce kind of looked a little, shaky yesterday, but you're going against
I,
one of
I,
those.
I got a little I got a little gripe with Sauce. Like the whole not turning around when the ball's in the air seems to be a trend with him.
Right.
Like I don't know if that's one of those things that could change. I don't know if it's early and I've never really seen a corner who plays like that all of a sudden become the guy who turns their head around all the time. So that's he's really good in coverage. Like I'm not knocking that part of it, but he's gonna get dinged with a lot of flags if he keeps just not turning his fucking head when the ball's in the air. But
right.
It's 2 games into his career, so I'm not gonna sit here and jump up and down about it. But it seems to be a bit of a theme with him so far.
Yeah, it seems like he's trying to be instinctual and just rely on what he's good at, which is following the receiver's eyes and putting his hand up at the opportune time, which if you played football, it's possible because the eyes are a dead giveaway. It can also hurt you if they're faking over their shoulder. But it does seem like 2 games in, he's relying more on his instincts. But again, this is his first game against a real legit wide receiver. He didn't really face anyone last week in Baltimore. Faced Amari Cooper. Love him or hate him.
We're gonna stop this Rashad Bateman disrespect on this program, man.
Well, Rashad Bateman didn't.
It's like the 6th instance of this. We're gonna stop this.
Bateman had 2 catches against
the program.
Bateman had 2 catches against the Ravens. His touchdown wasn't against. It was a blown coverage. It was against Sauce.
I mean, you say he didn't play against a real wide receiver. Bateman's a real.
Well, if we're talking about a real Pro Bowl, All-Pro veteran, yes.
Yeah, he's a veteran.
But not a second-year guy.
Really a good, accomplished veteran.
Right.
Like Rashad Bateman, like as much as talent as he hasn't accomplished much. I know what you meant. I just felt like talking shit. Go ahead.
But, like, love him or hate him, Amari Cooper could run a route. And he showed it. Hey, welcome to the big. So when he faces guys like Stephon Diggs twice this season, or he faces a guy like, not Waddle,
I mean, shit. You should bring up Waddle.
I mean, Waddle, but we know who's going to face. He's going to face
Waddle, Tyreek. You should bring them.
Tyreek Hill.
Like, those guys are a problem, an issue for anybody.
Right. So that's where that you can't do that because you're going to look in Tyreek Hill's eyes and he's going to be 20 yards down the field.
Yeah, he's a terror, man.
Right.
Tyreek's a terror. He knows a lot of terrors, man.
But it's definitely a positive for us as far as what's to come. And also, it's a stolen win. It's a steal. Some people were arguing last night it wasn't a steal. Yeah, we played a team
that you argue that. How is it possible you can argue that it wasn't a steal?
Because we were supposed to win, and I thought we were going to win. And I'm like, I don't think you understand what it means to see facing a talented team like the Browns. It feel like I know it's Jacoby Brissett, but that doesn't mean they're devoid of talent defensively enough, and we've seen it.
Bro, the Jets did some shit that hasn't been pulled off in 2,000 plus games. Like that is the quite literal definition of stealing a game that you have no business winning. It happens. Like it happens. Like I feel like the higher stakes and not quite as epic a collapse, but I feel like the AFC Championship game was that. The Bengals really didn't have no business winning that game. The Chiefs forgot how to play football for a half. Seriously, like that's what it was. That's what happened. Like, I don't want to disrespect the Bengals. Oh no, the big bad Bengals. I mean, whatever. But that's what happened. We all saw it. That game was not about what the Bengals did do. It was about what the Chiefs did not do. And the same thing is not really about what the Jets did. Like, we feel good. That's great. I'm not trying to show nobody's joy. But the Browns lost that game when the Jets won it. Like, we can call it what it is. That's what it was. They gave it to the Jets, and the Jets took it. Which good for them. They took it. They were given it.
Right. And looking forward to next week, speaking of the Bengals, they're 0-2. They lost to a team they weren't supposed to lose to as far as the Dallas Cowboys, especially with Cooper Rush and no running game. But they somehow managed to lose that game 20-17. Definitely another opportunity for at least to go 2-1. If we leave this AFC North trip 2-2, that's a very positive outlook for the remainder of the season. Because this is the part of the schedule everyone said we were going to go 0-4 for. So far, we're 1-1. And now we're going back home on this high, facing a team who looked bad. Let's just keep it a buck. They've looked bad so far this season. Yeah. Burrow has gotten sacked 5 times yesterday. that offensive line does not look good. We thought they were going to be an issue last season. They're bad right now.
I'll say this though, the offensive line is catching too much flack though, because all right, they're in like the nerd community as far as football talk goes. Like there's a dialogue between them and like I guess you want to call us the normal people, whatever you want to call both sides. You know what I mean? Where quarter like sacks, like some people consider it a quarterback stat, and some people just say, "Oh, it's about the line." Da, 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 da. I kind of feel like there's a blend of both, and I kind of feel like that's what's going on in Cincinnati, bro. Joe Burrow be holding the ball for fucking ever, bro. He be holding the ball forever, and it's like, "Oh, look at the offensive line. He held the ball for 6 seconds. What do you? How are they supposed to block for 6 seconds, bro?" And don't get me wrong, some of the plays where he's holding the ball, like I get why. I'm not trying to say that every play is built the same. Like somebody was trying to dunk on Joe Burrow for holding the ball on a 3rd and 10. Like, all right, you know why he held the ball on 30 fucking 10. He's trying to get a first down, bro. Like, well, there's wide open guys in the flats. Oh, why? Wow. So he can set up 4th and 7? Congrats. Like, he's trying to get a fucking first down. That's why he held the ball. But yo, Joe Burrow be holding the fuck out of the football, like often. And people are just like, the offense line. And I'm not trying to say they're good. That would not be true. I'm just trying to say Joe Burrow got some culpability and problems. But on that note, if the Jets beat them, I'll start to take them a little bit more seriously because the Bengals are going to come in. Maybe it's different with the 17-game season. That division isn't exactly knocking anybody's socks off right now. The Ravens can't defend nobody. The Browns, they're the Browns. The Steelers are certain Mr. Trubisky on purpose. Like that division ain't doing shit for nobody right now. But they're going to come in like 0-3 might be one foot in the casket. Let's call it what it is. I don't know what the numbers say, but I'm sure the odds are real low if you go 0-3 to make the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they're going to come in looking to beat the Jets down. How did the Jets respond? I've seen the Jets have nice wins before and then get their teeth kicked in the next week. That's typically how this goes. The Jets going to come out next week. They're going to run out Joe Flacco again. He's going to get sacked 47 times. They're going to get their ass beat. That's how typically this goes. We'll see how it goes this go around.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to look forward to. Speaking of Flacco, Flacco fever. Are you catching it? Are you catching the fever, Kev?
Oh, excuse my language. This is a family program. No, it's not. Fuck no. I'll say it again. Fuck no. I'll say it the 3rd time. No.
This is Joe Flacco's first win since 2019.
No, bro, he is 4-20 in his last. Excuse me. Let me reframe that because I hate quarterback wins as a stat. The teams that employ Joe Flacco are 4-20 in his last 24 starts. Let me reframe that. Apologies. No, I'm not catching Flacco fever. Flacco up until what, like 3:30 Eastern time yesterday. Flacco had a 5.2 yards per attempt, but the Jets scored what, the 17 points over 57 minutes worth of NFL game action. And then the Browns decided, hey, we don't want this. Yo, the bookie's outside. The bookie's outside with the chopper. Like, he might take us all out. We don't want this game no more. You can have it. That's about Joe. No, catch Joe Flacco. No, I can't wait till he's benched. Fuck you mean catch the fever? I can't wait till he's on the bench. And neither can he. That's the problem. Nobody was more upset that Zach Wilson got hurt than Joe Flacco. Not even Zach Wilson himself. Joe Flacco was the most upset person in America that Zach Wilson got hurt.
Well, I made the joke last night that Joe Flacco definitely doesn't want to play a 17-game season at all. In comparison to Tom Brady, who definitely doesn't want to go home, and that's why he's spending his the next few Wednesdays of the season on the couch. And we all assuming he's trying to save his relationship with his wife. But I think people are going to catch Flacco fever simply because when you're this deprived of a legitimate quarterback. I know Eddie Murphy Raw. There's a bit he's doing about being deprived of sex. And the first time you have sex, you get that cracker. Ain't a regular cracker. That's a Ritz. That's a saltine. That's a good cracker. And that's exactly what it is with Flacco winning a game for us for the first. People are just like, people were in the spaces last night like, wait, that's our first win since 2018 in September. I'm like, yes, He's usually gone 0-4 every September, 0-3 every September for the past 4 seasons. This is how bad it's been. So I believe there's some people jokingly saying if Flacco wins, reconsider this Wilson and everything. There's some people who seriously believe it, but this is what came out of the Jets camp today, and it's very funny, very interesting. The Jets say Zach Wilson needs to be 110%, not 100%. And this was in regards to saying, is he ready for week 3? Seeing as he's practiced, he looks good, and if he needs to be 110%. Kev, I'm going to ask you this. This is no longer a physical issue. And they did say he needs to be mentally prepared. Do you feel there's trouble in paradise behind the scenes with Zach Wilson?
I'm gonna need you to be a little bit more specific with that question. What do you mean by that? Word to Drewski. What do you mean by that?
Well, I look at it like this. When they first said that he needs to be physically and mentally prepared, I
Mm-hmm.
looked at it as because he did the same thing from last season in a preseason game, throw a bad pass and try to do too much and overextend yourself, and which you can say could cause injury. They still need him to play within himself, right? And in order for you to play within yourself, you have to buy in to what the coaches are saying.
Right.
But now we're seeing him practice, and he's physically looks fine, no knee brace, anything like that. We know he had surgery. Now they're saying he needs to be 110%. So now it goes from physically and mentally to now he needs to be 110%. And they said there's no way he's starting week 3. So is there more to this behind the scenes?
I mean, it's impossible for me to answer without knowing anything, but I'll guess. I mean, that's what we're here to do anyway. I'll guess. I don't think the Jets are doing. It's basically just all right. The Jets have invested heavily in this kid, right? They drafted him number 2 overall. They think he's their quarterback of the future. We'll see whether they're proven right or not, right? Now, I don't know shit. I ain't no doctor. I don't know a whole lot of shit about meniscus tears except that they ain't good. Clearly, duh, they ain't good. And I've seen like people have meniscus tears and never be the same. Now, how that relates to playing NFL quarterback, I don't know. How that relates with Zach's body, I don't really know. I understand why they would be playing it cautiously at this point because they feel like they can. Because they feel like it. It's one thing if week 4 comes and they're still doing this, then it's like, all right, bro, what is it? Because y'all told us he might be playing in regular season week 1. I think personally, I'll put on the tinfoil hat on. I think they was doing that shit to sell tickets. It's like, all right, we're gonna kick this can all the way down to whatever it was September 9th when they told us we're gonna sell as many tickets as we can and then tell them the motherfucker's not gonna play until week 4. But then we get to week 4 and you start kicking the can down the road. Then I'll be like, all right, what are we really doing here? Until then, it's just like, all right, they're being cautious with him. Now, teams lie. I don't really care what I've learned not to care what coaches and doctors, the team doctors said they're paid to fucking lie. All coaches do is fucking coach and lie. Like I've watched Robert Saleh for 2 years. All that man does is coach and fucking lie. All he does is coach and lie. So like I ain't really worried about what people say and how they say it and what I ain't worried about none of that. I don't think anything is going on behind the scenes that would be alarming enough to the point where we could point to it like, yeah, this is going on. They don't believe in him, whatever it is. I don't think nothing's going on like that behind the scenes. And if they are doing this so they could get him to buy in more in practice, that's a really stupid process because practice is practice and games are games. They are two different things. You got the red jersey on in practice, Miles Garrett, and whoever else is not trying to kill you in practice like they are during a game. You don't got 300-pound freaks of nature trying to kill you like they are during games. Like he's gonna have to play. So it's just I don't think that there's too much invested in him for them to be kicking the can down the road so they can play Joe Flacco some more. It's way too much invested in for that.
Yeah, I just don't like the sound of it, coming out and saying there's no way he plays week 3. Um, you don't want to deride the momentum. We did hear from an inside source that it's possible, and that the players are not too fond of Zach Wilson, and we'll leave it at that. Um, so you don't want to deride the momentum. The Jets are riding a high, but realistically, we can't sustain this very long with Joe Flacco, right? He's 37 years old. He's not like he's been super uber successful in the past, 3 seasons at all. You know, I mean, he hasn't really been good since probably I want to say 2015 Ravens, if we're being generous,
It's been a
2016,
while.
something like that, right? So you don't want to prolong this experiment forever. But on the flip side, the thing that always bothered me about the situation is the whole part of them saying he needs to be mentally prepared. Now, I get coaxing someone's mentality and maybe getting them ready to say, hey, you can't win every game with your arm or your eyes. You really got to go stay within the offense. And I don't believe Zach is that hard headed to be like, I'm a cowboy. I'm going to do whatever I want, especially as a second year guy who hasn't proved anything yet. You know what I mean? We've seen that with guys like Brett Favre. We heard about Aaron Rodgers basically telling old coaches, like, hey, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. We heard about with Peyton Manning, who pretty much ran the offense in the Colts when he was there during his prime years, you know what I mean? And how their system worked. So we're not unfamiliar with quarterbacks, doing their own thing. What we have heard, however, is that the Jets don't like when the quarterback's audible out of a situation. And not to say that Zach was audibling, but he may have been doing a little bit too much creative creative indifference. You know what I mean? It might have been doing a little too many free for alls, free plays, when a broken play happens. So maybe that's the issue they have, and they feel like they haven't gotten to him when it comes to that. But I really don't see the idea of prolonging him if he's ready physically week 3, because like Kev said about Zach last year, if you can't make certain throws, then you shouldn't be an NFL quarterback. And I think that'll go, it's fair to say, if you're not mentally prepared week to week, you can't be an NFL quarterback. We've seen the same thing when they were talking about Kyler Murray and saying he's not prepared, and how nasty that got out with the media and everything. We've seen it before about other positional players. You heard about how with Becton, how they were talking about Becton. It wasn't just physical; it was mental and stuff like that. So it's not. So every time you hear physical and mental, especially the mental part, it always seems like there's coaches indifference. So for Jets fans out there, for anybody who has any sanity left after following this team for this long, you definitely hope that that's not the case, right? He has to be ready to play week 4, and we don't want him to go past week 4. But I'm pretty sure another win this week, especially if it's a good win against Cincinnati, that there may be some whispers about the timing of him coming. But somebody again made an excellent point. The good thing about the Jets winning yesterday is that Zach no longer has to come back and be the savior, so to speak, and say, I have to win this game for us. He can now come in and say, this is where he can see where the team is going, see where he fits in this offense, and work from there. His jumping off point right now is, all right, reintegrating myself into this system, seeing what works, taking notes from Flacco, and also paying attention to the stuff that he couldn't do. Trust your ability when it's time to trust your ability, but play within the offense, and you should be successful. These guys will be wide open. Is definitely not an issue. So we'll see going forward. Finally, last topic. Comeback season and unexpected results from yesterday's game. The Jets weren't the only team to pull off on a ridiculous comeback. I think the credit goes to the Miami Dolphins, who had no business of winning that game against the Baltimore Ravens yesterday, especially the way that Lamar was playing, because Lamar was playing out of his mind. And
Yes,
they
he was.
somehow, huh?
Yes, he was.
And they somehow blew that game. Um, I wasn't watching this game. I know the Ravens were up big early. They were up as much as 35-14 going into the fourth quarter. The Dolphins scored 28 points in the fourth quarter. 28 points. Tua threw for 6 touchdowns, 469 yards passing. 36 for 50, which is pretty damn accurate outside of the 2 interceptions. Tyreek Hill had 11 catches for 190 yards. Jalen Waddle had 11 catches for 171 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think they said it's the first time in the modern era that 2 receivers combined for 22 catches, over 300 yards, and 4 touchdowns. it was a great game by Miami. This is a lot about Baltimore's defense. What were your thoughts on that game, Kev?
Um, I know this is going to be a little bit hypocritical based on the shit that I be saying, but
Mhm.
I would just like to take a minute and laugh at the people who wanted to draft Kyle Hamilton at 4, or the people who thought it was a decent idea, it wasn't a bad idea to take a safety at 4 who you're not convinced is a generational type of safety. Like it for a safety to be worth that, like they got to be Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, like maybe a slight notch below that. But for them to, or you know what, Minka Fitzpatrick, like you got to be somebody like that, right?
Right.
Bro, Kyle Hamilton genuinely, and he's 2 games in. I'm not trying to bury the guy. He genuinely looks like he has no idea what the fuck he's doing, bro. He looks like he's never played safety before. They just drag somebody off the stands and say, "Yo, hey man, hey yo, you go stay in front of Tyreek on 3rd and 8. Go, good luck." That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like they did. But as far as the game itself, I mean, we've spent so much time. Well, by we I mean they, because I don't engage in this bullshit. But they spent so much time talking about Tua and making every single deep throw he makes some like we got to write a thesis. We got to write a cover letter, fucking term paper every time he throws a fucking deep pass. It's like he doesn't need to throw the ball. Who in the NFL is hitting Tyreek Hill in stride regularly anyway? Number one, who? Tyreek Hill's
He's
arguably
super
the
fast.
fastest person in fucking football. Nobody's bro. I watched Patrick Mahomes underthrow that guy several times. Nobody's in that man in stride regularly. Number one. Number two, it's not even needed, bro. Like they got an offensive minded coach who seemed like he knows what he's doing. The line seemed like it's fine. Like I don't know about great. I don't know about good. It seemed like it's fine. They ain't gonna get the man killed, right?
Mhm.
You got 2 of the most explosive wide receivers in the NFL who both happen to be good. It's not like McCole Hardman explosive where you don't know if he actually knows how to play football. Like them 2 dudes know how to play football. They're really good at it and they're fucking explosive.
Mhm.
It's hard to screw this up. Tua don't gotta be Drew Brees for the shit to work. Tua just has to not vomit on himself on a week to week basis.
Yeah.
But like Tua threw for 400 whatever yards yesterday and 6 touchdowns. And you look at some of the highlights, and again, this is not to shade him. He played well. Anybody could have made those throws, bro. Like the Ravens were turning people loose in the secondary. You got Kyle Hamilton who on some which way to go, which way to go, which way to go shit in the fucking secondary. Like it's hard to screw that up. I've been saying that since they traded for Tyreek. I'm just like, that's not great for anybody in the AFC East outside of them. Because granted, the Bills are going to do the Bills. The Bills got everything. They're going to win that division comfortably. Like it's not a problem for them. They might lose a game to Miami. Don't get me wrong, but they're gonna win that division comfortably. But like, it's hard to screw up that much talent, and like nobody has more speed across the board. Like they got Tyreek, they got Waddle, Chase Edmonds is fast, Raheem Mostert is like track star fat. Like nobody got more speed. It's hard to screw that up if you have a coach who knows what he's doing, and those guys can actually play football. This ain't just speed just for speed's sake. Those guys can actually play football well. But the game itself was just like the Ravens got some problem. They got some question to answer as far as the secondary because, bro, every two, bro, I'm sitting there like I have the touchdowns Twitter. I have the notification turned on for it, and bro, once the fourth quarter hit, it was quite literally like every 3 minutes. Touchdown, Dolphins, touchdown, Dolphins. I'm like, yo, who is playing defense for the Ravens? Is anybody playing defense for the Ravens? Nobody, apparently. Word to keep sweat. Nobody. Nobody's playing defense for the fucking
Nobody.
right. Like, nobody's playing defense for the fucking Ravens. Like it was something to witness. But the Dolphins are going to be an issue for team. Like they're not a Super Bowl contender by any means, but I wouldn't be shocked if they won 10 games.
I know the Dolphins offensively, like with Waddle, and people were right. People were even considering Waddle in this equation. But Tua Tagovailoa throwing 469 yards and 6 touchdowns. Listen, Lamar Jackson had a perfect quarterback rating yesterday. Didn't throw any interceptions and ran for 119 yards. He's responsible for 4 of the touchdowns on a team. There's not much more you can do, right? Rashard Bateman had 4 catches for 108 yards. Andrews had 9 catches for 104 yards. He had a kick return for a touchdown. There's nothing much more that you need from the offense to their job, special teams to their job, and they still lost. And it was all hung up on the defense. So there's not much you can hang your hat on as far as say, hey, we didn't, there's a lot to hang your hat on, except for the defense. You can't hang shit on defense because defense played god awful football. So, it was definitely a tough loss for the Ravens. And I went into this season didn't think the Ravens were going to be that good this season anyway. I felt like they didn't give Lamar that much help, and their defense hasn't really been Raven-esque in a long time. I didn't think. Their 1-1 is not just like the season's over, but yesterday it was definitely nasty work. Some unexpected victories. Cowboys beating the Bengals was unexpected. We talked about that earlier. Touched on that. The Cardinals winning in overtime on a fumble recovery. The Packers and Aaron Rodgers still own the Bears, and the Colts definitely they're not looking good. Matt Ryan threw 3 interceptions. Taylor cannot get going. He got going in the first game, couldn't get going in the second game. Pittman got hurt, and they got shut out. The Colts definitely have a long way to go. The Lions scored 36 points again. Well, I think it was 35 last week, 36 this week. Offensively, the Lions are looking good. Amon-Ra St. Brown, somebody who I made fun of for his name, is actually pretty good. DeAndre Swift is definitely another guy who's playing well. And the Lions have made themselves 1-1. Carson Wentz didn't play bad yesterday, but the defense didn't show up, and they were playing from behind. At one point, they were down 22-0. Giants are also 2-0. The Bucks won ugly. Let's talk about the Mike Evans shove before we close out.
Let's. I got words. Go ahead. I'll let you start. Go.
You know when you just don't like a nigga.
Yes.
And it's just like when you see him, it's on sight. I didn't see what happened beforehand, but I didn't need to see it because I know with Mike Evans and this dude, it's on sight. So I don't know if you saw what happened prior to the shove.
I did,
but yeah, walk me through what happened.
All right, so I don't know if Tom Brady was gesturing towards the refs. It wouldn't be his first or last time. I think he was gesturing towards the refs. Marshawn Lattimore kind of waved him off, like basically like stop it type shit, right? So Tom Brady didn't like it too much. He walks over, takes a couple steps towards Lattimore. He starts talking. Lattimore starts talking back. Leonard Fournette walks over, shoves Lattimore in the helmet or whatever. Then Mike Evans comes like a bat out of hell and just takes out Lattimore. And it's like, on one end, I like beef. Number one. I like when people don't like each other. It's fire, especially in professional sports. It's like when the competitive juices start, and you just know, like, I don't like that motherfucker. Like, I like it. I appreciate it. Now, that's twice in 3-4 years that Mike Evans has blindsided Marshawn Lattimore. Like, all right, just do it when he's looking at you at least. Like, no, like the first time at least there was a reason, I guess, and even that Jameis kind of instigated by pointing him to dude's head or whatever it was, right?
Right.
So there wasn't even really a reason that time either. But this reason, this one was so bad, and it was like they ejected him, and then he's like, "Oh, it's Tom Brady. What you want me to do, bro? What kind of elite level dick riding is this, bro? Tom Brady was in no danger. Everybody got their helmets on. Marshawn Lattimore wasn't even walking towards him. He wasn't taking no steps towards him. Your man's was not in any fucking danger. I wish you would have just said, I just don't like that motherfucker, and that's why I did what I did. I respect that a whole lot more than this shameless dick rider you want us to believe that you were doing. If you just said, I don't like that dude, nobody would have knocked him for it. It was like, all right, we know you don't like him. And part of the reason whether Mike Evans wants to admit it or not is that Marshawn Lattimore be putting him in solitary confinement when they play. He don't want to admit it out loud. That's part of the reason. If he was out there putting up 8 and 120 on Marshawn Lattimore every day, you think he'd dislike him? No. Why would he? Because he bakes him every time they play. He wouldn't dislike him.
Right.
But he gets put in jail by him every single time they play. So he don't fuck with him. And if you don't fuck with him, fine. You don't got to. But miss me with the, what do you expect me to do? Tom Brady's my quarterback. Shut up. Shut up. Stop.
You went full Terrell Owens.
And he started the whole thing.
It's my quarterback.
It's my quarterback.
The funniest thing is Mike Evans appealing the 1 game suspension. Like, what are you appealing, my G? Like, we all saw what happened, right? You ran out like you said, like a bat out of hell. You knocked him to
And
the
this is the
ground,
second time he did the same thing to the same guy, bro.
right?
Second time.
Like, bro,
Like, you're
take your
gonna get
1 game,
suspended.
yeah, take your 1 game suspension and relax. You don't like to
No,
do
Marshall
fine.
Lattimore should have got suspended for what?
For what?
For
For
what?
standing there?
For talking. Like, quite literally, the whole thing started because he waved off Tom Brady, and then Tom Brady started running his fucking mouth, and then Leonard Fournette came in and hit Marshall Lattimore. Lattimore hit the guy back, and then here comes Mike Evans, fresh out of off the other sideline, basically to hit him. He's like, "What do you want me to do? It's Tom Brady, bro. Go back to your huddle. What do you mean? What do you want you to do? Go back to your huddle. It's 3-3 in the fourth quarter." Like, beside the fact that the dick riding was off the charts, it was a 3-3. It was a tie game in the fourth.
It was
Like, if I'm Todd Bowles, I'm like, yo, what are you doing? What are you defending Tom Brady from? Tom Brady was in no danger. Like, if Marshall Lattimore even laid a finger on Tom Brady, fine, all bets are off.
Right.
Just on principle,
Right.
all bets are off. He wasn't even walking towards the guy. He was just talking. People talk every day in the NFL. Dog. People talk shit. He was just talking. Oh, well, what do you want me to do? It's my quarterback. Stop dick riding, Mike Evans. That's what you want you to do. Stop dick riding. If you don't like Marshawn, just say it. Just say it. Stop dick riding, bro. Like, when I saw that, I was like, bro, this is shameless. This is the most shameless dick riding I've ever seen, bro.
You gotta say, Kev, y'all be weak in the knees. Stand up. Stand up.
Yeah, we gotta end on that. We gotta end on that. Stand up. Like,
stand up. Stand up. Nah, yo, listen, man. It's the funny thing about Tom Brady this whole season, the story surrounding him, he's not playing well in the first 2 games. It doesn't look anything like he did last year. Does he have any touchdown passes? What, 1, 2?
Oh, he has 1, I believe.
1 touchdown pass? Yeah.
And then he proceeded to throw like 5 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But go ahead.
And then now, like I said, we found out on like Wednesdays, he's getting what is it, a Veterans Day or whatever on every Wednesday. Listen, Tom Brady retired, and he should have stayed retired. He grabbed his bags, he left his locker, and he got home, and he was like, nah. He's like, nah.
I'm not ready for this family man.
I'm not ready for this family shit.
I'm not ready for this family man shit, bro.
And
every day I gotta be here. Like, I gotta go to parent teacher meetings. No, sir.
Yo,
I'm not ready for
I gotta pick up the kids. I gotta drop them off.
Nope. I gotta make sure they eat. No, that's not gonna. No. I just want to make sure Mike Evans eats on the field. Right. I don't want to make sure my kid eats. I don't want to be responsible for this shit.
What was he retired for? 11 days or something like that?
I want to say it was like a month. A month like that. Like,
he comes back. He misses training camp. He goes missing or whatever the case may be. And then it's like a lot of personal stuff is going on. Then it's personal days on Wednesdays. That man, go home and be a family man. Just go home. Go back to your family. Be a family man.
Bro, how I know Tom Brady going through it at the crib is when he sat up there, like when he came back from his hiatus and he's like, "Hey man, I'm 45 years old. Shit be going on at home." I was like, "Yo, he going through it at home." Because Tom Brady had never been honest about shit, like behind the scenes or whatever. Like, he gives you the most bland. Like, he for the most part is Derek Jeter. Like, it's the same thing. They say a whole bunch of shit while saying nothing. Tom Brady's like, "Hey man, yo, shit be happening at the crib, man." He told us that, like unprompted. Told us that. Nobody really asked him for that. He told us that. Like, that's how you know shit's getting real at the crib.
Right. With that being said, we're gonna call it an end to our show. Make sure you follow Kevin Lewis at KLEW24. Make sure you follow Jude Truth at Jude Truth, and make sure you follow me at A Case Online. Don't forget to visit www.mipod.store. We're going to have something new for you guys, hopefully this week. And Kev had just started with Underdog Fantasy on Sundays. Make sure that you check him out on Sundays. 12 to 1. Yes. And Mondays still all in with Kevin Lewis. And, of course, every Wednesday with us. And also don't forget Middle Initial Podcast, Black Diamond, Episode 2 is dropping this week. So, peace. Have a good night and enjoy.